Hey, aloha. Oh,
I want Venezuela on my desk by Friday morning.
That is one big-ass Stairmaster.
Soundmaster, screaming man at sound.
I got steps if anybody needs them. Steps here.
Music by Mel Bay.
We now return to your regularly scheduled program.
Yes, Venezuela, proud jewel of the Adriatic.
Our man in Venezuela, Pee Wee Herman.
Well, they're all done with Venezuela. They don't need me to do it.
Oh, shoot, they brought me to Maracaibo, not Venezuela.
Hi, have you heard of the Book of Mormon?
Por favor, señor.
Fondle my butt.
¿Dónde está
No,
mi equipaje?
No.
No comprendo.
I will not give you foot massage.
Favor de pasar por aquí.
I was so sure I'd learned the right pronunciation. But when I tried my phrasebook Spanish at Maracaibo Airport, nobody could understand a word.
In fact, I was kneed in the groin and then thrown in jail.
It brought home what I was told in the briefing sessions by Creole. I'm starting work in a foreign country for an American oil company.
Yep.
And I'll have to learn its ways, just as Creole has. We each represent the United States here, in the eyes of the Venezuelans.
He works for Creole Lady Marmalade.
My baggage was at customs, as I should have known, and my English got me through.
They thought I was Meyer Lansky.
Then the language problem ended for the moment. Creole had sent another American engineer up from the oil fields to meet me and show me around before I report at the engineering office.
He was even scrawnier than I was.
Ray and I drove into the hot night. His hand found my thigh and
He gave me a regular guided tour of Maracaibo.
Know what I mean?
Everything looked just as tropical as I had expected, and only 10 degrees north of the equator, it was just as hot as I had expected.
I sweat right through my trousers.
The first thing that surprised me on that ride was
Was being sucked through a time portal.
in other residential areas, I saw houses built in the old Spanish tradition.
Why, here's Oronzio Spelling's house.
Then came the new again. Huge modern apartment buildings.
So I'll be staying here.
Yep.
These seem nice. Oh, there's some stores.
Wait.
This is like a very Brady Venezuela.
I almost felt I hadn't left home when we passed a big Sears Roebuck store.
Because it's called Cram Venta at home, too.
Another familiar sight was a used car lot full of American autos.
I dropped my pants and bent over a car just to feel at home.
Autos usados.
But the center of the city is Spanish. And you begin to realize that Maracaibo is almost 400 years old.
When are they going to fix it up?
Sir, cars aren't allowed on the bike path. Sir.
The narrow downtown streets along which we drove were once invaded by Morgan's pirate raiders.
Frankly, we'd wandered into a bad section of town.
I begun to wonder where Ray was taking me.
The contrast really hit me when we drove up to our hotel. Just about the most modern one I've ever seen.
There's a motor lodge outside Beloit that comes close, but...
It's a great introduction to a job in Venezuela, but it's only for one night.
One lovely night with Ray.
Hey.
Pardon my luxury, dear. I'm at the pool at the hotel as I write this.
And I'm not lusting after the young, tawny Venezuelan.
My next letter will be from Lagunitas, because I leave for the oil fields tomorrow. Love to you and the boys,
What's their names?
Jim.
To you and the boys, Jim.
Do you know a Jim?
Where is Daddy, Mommy?
Well, Jeff, I'll just show you.
That's okay. You can just tell me.
Oh my, this is the Kama Sutra.
We're here in the United States,
The best country ever.
and Daddy is down here in Venezuela.
Screwing around.
Let's go to illustration B.
Ding.
He wrote the letter from Maracaibo.
Where he cheats on us with the brown-skinned beauties.
But by now, he's down here where the Lake Maracaibo oil fields are.
Can I go outside?
That's where Daddy is working, Jeff. And when he finds a place for us to live, we're going down there, too.
So where's Daddy?
No!
Dear Anne, well, here I am at Lagunitas in the oil fields.
Try to find me.
My trip from Maracaibo started with a ferry ride across the neck of the lake, near the entrance from the Caribbean.
Nice enough fella, drove the boat well, and how they live is none of my business.
Let's see. What else can I tell you about myself?
Lake Maracaibo seemed narrow here, but it's actually 60 miles wide at one point and about 120 miles long.
I felt like a complete ass for mistaking it as narrow.
I've taken this opportunity to reassess my views of all inland bodies of water.
I wanted nothing more than to throw myself on my hotel bed and cry.
After leaving the ferry, the drive to Lagunitas took about an hour. Most of it along a road built by Creole and the other oil companies back in the 30s.
Over a wide body of water, and it was a wide road.
I made no assumptions about the narrowness or width of the road.
The offshore wells run along the edge of Lake Maracaibo for more than 40 miles, sometimes reaching beyond the horizon. It's quite a sight.
Made me proud to be an American.
But the most thrilling sight to me was my first view of our new home, Lagunitas, right on the lakeshore. It's both a community and an industrial center.
Well, it's mostly an industrial center.
Boy, you can smell the oil oozing from every pore of the land.
Well, that building is really nothing. No.
Part of my work will be in the office here, and part out on the lake, helping with supervision and planning for this portion of the oil field.
Damn it, why did I have to estimate how wide that river was? I played it over again and again in my mind.
It's just like Levittown, honey, only better.
Well, if it isn't Mr. Big Lake.
I started meeting people the moment we arrived.
People don't take to me very well, honey. It's time you learn that.
You can let go now.
My first stop was at the administration building where I checked in at my office.
It's a narrow building.
My Creole office building. My Creole office building.
Hey, it's Lake Man, everybody. Sure you can wedge into our narrow office, Mr. Big Lake?
My boss, the district petroleum engineer, is a young fellow. They give responsibility early here.
Young that he's in his mid-50s.
I found that the engineering staff is both Venezuelan and American, or North American, as they say here.
Or white devil, as they say here.
Then I spent the evening getting settled in my quarters. A long and lonely evening, dear, without you.
I'm lying. I stayed up till 9 and had Cokes. Please forgive me. Please.
I'll have another Coke.
The next day, I was taken out on the lake to see the field procedures.
Then shot in the
Before
head.
that day was over, I felt as though I were back in the Navy.
I was dragged behind the boat over beds of coral.
I didn't see that ponga knife coming at me.
Never get out of the boat. Absolutely goddamn right.
I'd been shanghaied by some badass drug cartel. I realized I was sitting on a kilo of coke.
They had asked me to give up the pinky from my left hand.
As we headed out into the lake, I saw that there was no open water ahead, just rows of oil wells. And as an engineer, I know that what I saw is just part of it, that under the water there are hundreds of miles of pipeline connecting the wells.
You wouldn't know that, honey, because you're not an engineer.
The wells form a geometrically exact pattern, carefully spaced, to tap the oil in the most efficient manner.
The pattern nicely doubles as a pentacle to Satan.
Yep, here's our new house, honey.
Creole and the Venezuelan government work together to make sure that the field is planned for the best long-term utilization of the country's oil resources. For example, a careful check is kept on the pressure of the gas, which forces most of the oil to the surface without pumping.
Oh, Christ, what a mess. Well, I'm sure it's fine.
We don't even know what it means.
Come on. Got a crab cage filled with brews down here.
My God, go, go, go! This whole thing's gonna blow! We gotta be 200 yards gone in 7 seconds, mister!
The gas which comes up with the oil is not wasted or burned off. 7 miles offshore, I saw one of our huge plants which injects the natural gas back into the formation. That maintains the pressure to keep the oil flowing.
How thoughtful.
Hey, that's a dairy barn.
The drilling is done with power and equipment from big barges, tied up to the well platforms.
I thought of you, honey, when I saw the big barge.
I'll be working on the barges a lot of the time, and I'll have to speak Spanish because 92% of Creole's employees are Venezuelan.
Flintstone!
Me and Gene Okerlund worked on my site.
That includes a large number of the engineers and more than half of the supervisors, like the tool pushers who boss the drilling crews.
Another year off my life.
I'm so flipping happy.
Ah!
Ah! Oh.
was majestic, honey.
Practically all the skilled workers of Venezuela. And with their housing and other benefits, they receive about as much as men doing identical jobs in the United States.
Well, figured a certain way, about as much. Honey, it's just so glorious. You gotta get down here.
Employee relations policies are about the same, too. And oil companies here operate under modern labor laws.
Again, for Venezuela.
I already feel at home in my job, even though I sometimes go to and from work in a boat.
I hope my humor isn't too pungent for you.
Sure, it's a different country, and I'm a foreigner here. But the Venezuelans have already made me feel welcome. All I have to do now is lick that language problem.
And Escobar here.
Dear Anne and the boys,
He said, boys,
here's
he
the
loves
latest
us.
news on our house.
Ready?
I've been looking over all the staff houses, and my favorite is the kind built high off the ground to let the breeze under, and incidentally provide a wonderful open-air playroom. They're completely shuttered with aluminum to keep out the daytime heat.
I'm sorry, Ray.
I saw the interior of one house on Sunday when a Venezuelan employee invited me over. He's being transferred to a better job at Creole headquarters in Caracas, and I hope to get the house. His wife showed me all through.
It's Billy and Betty Barty.
No, I couldn't possibly take your wife.
Get ready to hang our artwork high on the wall.
All Venezuelans listen to mariachi bands all the
This
time.
one had 2 bedrooms. Some have more.
Some have less. It all works out. Everybody seems to get a bed.
This is the old workbench, as Ted says.
I guess I shouldn't complain to you, but he's never home. He's got another wife, and it's called petroleum.
Here's our ashtray. You'll probably get one of these, too.
We'll have to raise our coffee table to have any hope of fitting in.
I was pretty happy about the possibility, but it didn't work out. As luck would have it, the house has been assigned to another family who've been waiting some time, meanwhile living in one of the Quonset huts.
But I got a beer out of it.
And so that's how we happen to be moving into their Quonset hut on October 1st. I
Pile!
rushed right over to see it.
Yeah, how you doing, buddy? Never saw one of these dung heaps before. Get on in here.
Well, this is the living room. Nice, huh?
It's temporary housing, of course, but these people had fixed theirs up attractively. We can do the same while we're waiting for one of the permanent houses.
There's rats in the toilet. Gotta keep a book on the lid.
Sit down, honey.
It's like living in a B-52.
I found half of a dog under the floorboards.
I woke up once with a roach in my mouth.
We'll need just about everything we have at home, except the kitchen sink. So you'd better start packing.
The water works about an hour a day. I'd boil the hell out of it if I were you.
Be prepared for a heavy social life, too. Everything from bridge parties at home to sports at the club.
I donned my swimming trousers and took a relaxing dip.
My favorite spot is the pool, even though it's mighty lonely there without you. No fun at all, really.
Thank you, Mr. Eddie's father.
I have to go to confession now.
Fortunately, she was the commandant's girl.
Swimming!
You asked about medical care.
Don't ask.
There's a Creole dispensary for both employees and dependents.
It's called Needle Park.
Do your worst.
Spock!
I've looked over the school, too. It's also maintained by the company. The principal is a North American, but education is in both English and Spanish. They try to make all the children bilingual. And Jeff will start learning Spanish in the 1st grade.
It is Jeff, isn't it?
Mike,
Sí, comandante.
¿qué hacen los niños? Los niños juegan. ¿Dónde juegan los niños? Los niños juegan en el patio.
Yeah, thanks, howdy doody.
Shirley, ¿con quién juegan los niños? Los niños jueguen
No, forget it. Never mind. Thank you.
Okay, she knows Spanish. Next group.
Those kids made me feel a little ashamed of my Spanish, or lack of it.
You make me sick.
Everything I've described is inside the oil camp. The Creole is now trying to get away from the old idea of a company camp. Eventually, they want their people to live in regular towns, where that's possible.
They killed all pets to prove they were serious.
I saw some results of this new policy when I visited Creole's refinery at Amway recently.
Why?
Just because.
We drove through the residential area, where many of the homes were built by private contractors, partially financed by the company. The houses are sold or rented to anyone, not just Creole employees. The worker is even helped with his down payment if he needs it. But after that, he and his family are on their own, just as in the United States.
I saw a nude midget circus.
Instead of company commissaries, they have privately operated shopping centers. Some of them started with loans from Creole. The idea of this community integration project is to make people independent instead of having to look to the company for everything.
It's called Venezuelization.
It's an interesting new development. And speaking of new developments,
Anne, I'm being sent for a month's study of Spanish in Caracas. That's where I'll be writing from next.
Did he mention me at all?
I traveled to Caracas by air, of course, landing at Maiquetía, right on the shore of the Caribbean.
You?
Then we started up through the mountains on one of the most remarkable highways in the world, the Autopista.
I'm joining the Shining Path.
Narrow, wide, narrow, narrow, wide.
I couldn't help but notice the dark sedan following us.
We entered the land time forgot. Dinosaurs roam freely.
We go to see Carl.
It took us just 20 minutes to climb to 3,000 feet, the altitude of Caracas.
You?
Suddenly, we were in the city.
Shots rang out.
It's laid along a narrow valley just behind the coastal mountains.
Narrow? Did I say narrow? There I go again. The cab driver whirled on me. His eyes narrow. No, not narrow. No.
The downtown area is dominated by the Central Simón Bolívar, a building development something like Radio City, except that superhighways go through it and under it.
And you can't get a good corned beef sandwich, and the live sex shows aren't that good. It's an inappropriate analogy, and I'm sorry.
I had the driver take me for a ride around the city.
I wasted company funds.
He showed me the new sections in the east, where just 10 years ago there were sugarcane and coffee plantations.
Then he showed me a butterfly knife.
Honey, I'm really sick of Venezuela. I want to come home. Shut off that crappy music and fly me home. I don't want to live in a closet hut. I don't want to learn Spanish anymore. Creole's really hard to work for.
Enough of the stupid buildings. Oh, what else?
They use a tremendous amount of color on the buildings, sometimes just to vary patterns.
Sometimes it's too much and I have to avert my eyes.
And sometimes for artistic effect. Giant mosaics, 6 to 10 stories high.
Are there?
Some of the residential areas are almost futuristic.
But they're not, because you realize it's not the future.
But others are so quiet and tranquil that you seem to be in another world.
But nothing is as nice as our Quonset hut.
I saw the Virgin. Oh, no, my mistake.
Klingon language camp is hard.
Since that first day, I've spent most of my time studying Spanish. I'm even writing this letter between classes. But tomorrow is Sunday, and I expect to see more of the city.
Maybe I'll have another Coke.
I've told you how modern much of Caracas is.
Scratch that.
Well, if the rest of the place is modern, they'll have to coin a new word for University City. Believe me, this is no ivy-covered campus.
So just wipe that thought out of your stupid
University
brain.
City is one of the impressive sights of Caracas. Another example of the prosperity oil has helped to bring to Venezuela.
Oil is a loving God.
Hey, nice parking job. Let's just key that car.
The sculpture Anteater with Onion Ring is located in the plaza.
Crazy South American art.
The university isn't tucked away by itself. It's part of the city. And it provides the city with many things, from medical care to a beautiful stadium for soccer and track, and another for baseball.
And one for parts.
The Caraqueños are especially proud of their low-rent housing projects. Huge apartment buildings in clusters on the hillsides. We have nothing like them at home.
Oh, wait, yes, we do.
But some things are just like home. The new business sections,
New tempo sections.
the shop windows filled with goods purchased in the United States,
Strewn haphazardly in the window.
Just buy the gun, lady. Just buy the gun.
and the familiar look of all the American cars. Not to mention the traffic.
But I'm teasing Caracas.
So anyway, darling, me and some guys decided never to go to that cockamamie class.
I've also seen some of the historic spots of Caracas, like Plaza Bolivar, the old Spanish square with the statue to the liberator, who led 6 South American nations to freedom.
I think it was Zorro or something.
And Casa Natal, the birthplace and home of Simón Bolívar. The old colonial house is now a museum of Venezuelan history.
This is called Jesuits with Nudes.
Ooh. Hey, Padre's doing all right for himself.
I was told that many families in Caracas still live in gracious old homes like Bolivar's, showing only blank walls on the outside and looking toward beautiful inner patios open to the sky.
I was lied to.
Does he go to classes at all? Hey, buddy.
Olay!
My Caracas life, for most of the past month, has centered on just one building, the Spanish school.
And the steam room inside.
We Norte Americanos study Spanish 8 hours a day, 5.5 days a week. It's been hard work, but it's been worthwhile.
Although I've made no progress.
Señor Moore, ¿dónde trabaja usted?
Yo trabajo en Lagunías con la Creole Petroleum Corporation.
Perfectamente bien, señor Moore.
Got it right.
I'm really learning the language now. Just wait until you hear me when you reach Maracaibo next week.
My mouth will be filthy.
They were supposed to be here 3 days ago.
Atención, por favor. La línea aeropostal venezolana anuncia la llegada del
What?
vuelo número 2
What the hell are you saying?
de Miami.
What?
LAV, Venezuelan Airlines announces the arrival of Flight 201 from Miami.
Will never happen due to a gruesome crash.
Well, maybe she'll have a heart attack and die on the way here.
Su atención, por favor. Después de cumplir requisitos de migración y aduana, los pasajeros saldrán por la salida este del edificio. Following immigration and customs clearance, passengers will exit at
Howdy!
Wow, I've had her in there for a long time. That cavity search must be hell.
Howdy! Daddy, it was terrible. The man had the scar and he smelled like whiskey. It was terrible.
That's enough, dear. No. Hey, you looking at my wife?
Put the bags in the car. Bago in caro!
Is this all?
No, we have 2 more bags.
Yeah, boy.
Tenemos más equipaje.
Wait,
No,
Jim.
no.
Tenemos 2 maletas más. Una grande y una pequeña.
Sure, right here?
La pequeña es mía.
Oh, no.
We've been studying Spanish too.
Well, that's how it goes. You work hard to impress your family, and they end up telling the porter what luggage he has to
Is
find.
that nuts or what?
It's good to have them here, though. And I'm looking forward to a good life with them during this assignment in Venezuela.
You need me in the groin, Daddy!
And so I say, El Fine, the end.
Whatever.
And as we left the clam flowage that day, we would...
Woo, dog. And then we're going to chop up some onion Friday in the top of all day. We're going to get some cayenne pepper and a yellow red. There we go.